Bridie, all my life I always wanted to be an attorney. And this show that we're going to be doing, Heels of Justice, makes me feel like I'm in charge.
I always wanted to be a psychotherapist, but I took the long way. It took me 40 years to get there.
But you made it.
Yes.
You know, working with the incarcerated population makes me feel, I'm so fulfilled because I'm empowering the inmates. I'm giving them the attention that they don't get on a regular. I'm giving them hope. And it's just a good feeling all around to be able to be in their environment for that 1 hour, 3 times a week, and give them hope. Mm-hmm.
And on Heels of Justice, our new program that we will be airing second Monday of each month, stay tuned, we'll be highlighting what goes on inside those walls. So,
I feel so comfortable and so safe. Even when I was working at Rikers Island, I just feel like that's where I belong.
Alicia and I clicked like two sisters from another mother, and it became love at first sight, and we automatically felt a level of comfort that I'd never felt with anyone before. I knew from the moment I met you that it was special. Okay.
We've got COs that are interested in coming on board. We have ex-inmates interested in coming on board, being a guest. We'll have a telephone here. Lines will be open for any call-ins.
Oh, that would be great. That would really be great. Because really what has to happen is there needs to be a change in our system today, in our incarceration system, and in our legal system in general, because from the time and the moment that our young people step out of the house, they're basically in danger of being sort of almost like taken from us.
Welcome again to Heels of Justice. I'm your co-host, Alicia Figueras-Lambert.
And I'm Bridie Bugeja.
And we are very excited today to have Pastor Roy Kirton with us, who's the founder of Safe Harbor Mentoring Program. Welcome to the show, Pastor.
Thank you.
And Angela Sutphen, who's a volunteer for Safe Harbor. So welcome, both of you.
Thank you.
Pastor, I've known you for a very long time, and I'm just so impressed with the work that you have been doing for the inmates' aftercare. Do you want to tell us more about Safe Harbor?
Yes, my involvement with the jails is about 25 years. We've been involved in that project, and I came as an individual volunteer, and then I saw how overwhelming the problem was. And in 2003, I developed an aftercare program that would help men and women. It wasn't initially aftercare, it was just helping them with their needs. And then we saw our focus should be aftercare because we wanted them to be able to re-enter normal life and to be acclimated. And so we became involved in job placement, various things like that, restoring families. We have Angela Sutphen here, who sings like an angel, and I heard her.
Yes, she does.
When I went to the Nassau County Jail. She had no guitar. She sung a cappella. And because of, I guess, my consistency of going into that program, she promised me that she would come to church. Not only did she come to church, but we had a complete restoration of her whole family. Her and her husband are now deacons in the church, and her children also attend the service. So that's one of our success stories.
So Reverend, when you say aftercare, can you tell us a little bit about
Sure.
what that means?
Sure. Aftercare, when a person is in prison, it's really not rehabilitative. It's more penal, and people don't have computers. They don't know how to function. If somebody's been in prison 20 years, the whole world has changed.
That's right.
And when they get out, they hear a phone. Where's the phone coming from?
Yes.
They never saw a cell phone. They don't know how to get a ticket along on railroad. Don't know how to apply for a job. All of that stuff. So our focus is to mentor them as they come out. Actually, to meet them initially, hear their needs, and as they come out, they can seek our results. The percentage that we work with initially is nowhere compared to the ones we mentor, because we have a lot of inmates that have a lot of good talk, but when they get out, they don't follow through. But the ones that follow through, we walk them through, and we assist them, and we have 35 volunteers from various churches throughout Long Island. We work in Yaphank, Nassau, and Riverhead.
And the so the prisons, when they're released from prison, How do they find you? How do they know about you?
Well, we've established a relationship on weekly classes. We are in each facility every single week, and our volunteers alternate, and they teach life skills. They talk about anger management, various things like that, and then they build a connection. And then after that, we do a one-year annual retreat under a tent in Riverhead, and then through all those connections, then they can connect with us when they come out of the facility.
And how difficult is it for, someone that has come out of jail to reestablish themselves, especially if there's a felony? How does that happen?
It's tremendous because, first of all, there's a mindset. In prison, it's survival of the fittest. When you come out, you have to learn how to deal with people. That's a huge mindset. And then when they come out, they really don't have a resume. And my experience has been when somebody spent 10 years in prison and they've been there on a long-term basis, take 10 years off their life. They're really not 40, they're 30.
Yeah.
Because they have been polarized for those 20 years and they have not developed maturity.
So you're a re-entry program.
Yes.
I see. And recently, I understand there's been some legislation attempted in Washington, D.C. addressing re-entry.
Well, I think re-entry is a nice catchphrase now, and a lot of people are jumping on that bandwagon. We'll see how it works out. We are in the process of developing a partnership with a large church on Long Island with a lot of entrepreneurs, and the purpose is that we can connect with entrepreneurs that will provide employment. We'll provide the mentorship. We're in smaller churches, and the entrepreneurs will come out of the larger churches, and hopefully they'll be able to, I love it when a former incarcerated person can say, I pay taxes now, Yeah, it's a very powerful thing.
Of course.
It's a very powerful
Pastor,
thing.
you mentioned earlier that the amount of people that actually come to you for services for aftercare is very, very low. Bridie and I worked in the jail for quite a bit of time and worked with hundreds of inmates. And I cannot tell you how many came to us after they came out for help. I think there were 2. We helped 2 with resume writing and job placement.
Yeah.
I think I sent you 1
Right.
out of hundreds that we worked with.
Yeah.
So where's the fall? Where's the break?
Well,
Where's the gap?
one of the disconnects is that there's no support system from the jail.
Right. That's
The
true.
jail should be more supportive.
Yes.
We sat down with Sheriff Toulon and Butch Langhorne. We had a meeting at the beginning of the year. After his election, he's the first African-American sheriff in Suffolk County. And we proposed some proposals that would tie him to our program so that we know when people are being released, we know how to help them. We have an annual holiday party. We've asked that they give the forms to the inmates, not us, so that we'll get a bigger population. And we feel that if they will step up and be a support to us, we can do our job. We don't want to do their job,
Right, of course.
but we want to do our job.
So do you feel they're being receptive?
Yeah, in Nassau County, there's a huge disconnect because the volunteers are looked at as annoyances. So if you look at it as an annoyance, they're just here, they're just marking time, nothing's going to change.
Wow.
But if the thinking is this group is here as an aid, how can we work together to empower these people, Because the focus is we should not be building any more jails. We should be shutting down jails.
Right.
Yes, and especially in the environment that we are living in at the moment, it seems very divisive, and I feel, are experiencing a lot of resistance to helping, and instead of building bridges, we're dividing people.
Right.
So one of the most important things is communication, as we discussed earlier, to build communication,
Yeah.
to resolve the misunderstandings, the misconceptions, as you will.
Well, what you have to realize is that America is an experiment. No country in the world has the diversity that we have. And when you're dealing with so much diversity,
It's true.
every group is kind of pitted against the other. We've seen that down through the ages. And now that we're all here and we all want a piece of the pie, we have to learn how we're going to work together.
Yes, we have
And
to.
that's the challenge.
Yes, we have to learn how to play in the sandbox together,
Right.
right? It all boils
So
down
how
to
many
that.
people do you have currently involved in Safe Harbor?
We have about 35 volunteers.
Volunteers?
Yes.
And how many ex-offenders are you servicing right now?
I would say probably in our classes on Sunday night, I would say 25 to 30. And then we have small groups in Nassau County, probably 8 to 10. And so the word gets around. Then we have a service every first Sunday at Nassau County, and there's probably about 35 to 40 there.
And not because you're a pastor, but is the Safe Harbor Mentoring Program faith-based?
We are well, actually we're not faith-based, but we're part of a faith-based group.
Okay.
So we can help people from the nation. Matter of fact, I've mentored people from the Nation of Islam because we were not a Christian-based thing. We kind of reached past that. Our goal is to reach those that are traditionally outside the church walls.
Okay.
Very nice, very nice. So Angela, the bird singing woman, your voice is amazing.
Thank you.
I remember the first time I heard you, I was really blown away.
Thank you.
Again, welcome to the show. Please give us a synopsis as to what you experienced and what brought you to Reverend Kirton.
Well, I was put in jail for something that I didn't do. Fought and hard to get out of jail, and I believed in justice, but it doesn't exist. I found that justice doesn't exist, and that there's a lot of corruption in the higher ups, especially Suffolk County.
And I understand that you were forced or asked to take a plea, as most people that are under arrest and have to face a court trial, they are encouraged, if not.
Well, I was forced. I wasn't encouraged. I was forced. What happened was I owned a mortgage bank for 20 some odd years, and I had a couple of people who worked for me. I found out that they were doing some fake mortgages, so I stopped them.
Which is a federal offense.
I stopped them, and I stopped the funds from being given over, and I fired them. And I knew these people for quite a couple of years, and they said, if you don't do what we say, we're going to put you in jail. And I had been in jail already for 10 months prior to that. I just want to say, because of another thing that I deserved, because someone else stole money off of my line of credit, and I shut up about it because I was about to go public. My business was about to expand, and I didn't say it until it was over, I felt, and then I would pay it back, go after the people, and that was wrong. So I got 10 months in prison for that. But when I came out, they let me have my license back. They knew I didn't get the money. And so I kept going, and they knew that was over my head. So what happened was they said, nobody will believe you.
Okay.
So if you don't let us take the money or do what we want to do, we're just going to put you in jail. And I didn't think it could happen.
So they conspired against you.
Yeah. So what happened was I laughed about it. No way. I have all the emails still. I mean, this is from 2009. I kept all the emails of threatening me. I thought I had all this proof that I was innocent, and the bank knew that I helped them not lose any money.
Right.
I thought, there's no way I'm going to go to jail, right? Well, sure enough, this detective named Kenneth Ripp went to one of the houses that we owned, my husband and I, and threw one of the tenants up against the wall. I get a phone call from him, and he says, I don't know what's going on, but he took my cell phone because he had a past and said, I know you passed, and I want her phone number. And I didn't know what was going on. And he told him not to pay the rent. I'm like, what's going on? I had no clue. There was 2 other tenants there too. It was in Lindenhurst. I live in Massapequa in Nassau County. This guy was from Suffolk. My office was in Suffolk, Farmingdale. So what happened was I I ended up evicting these people. And when my husband and I showed up for the eviction, all the cops went and arrested me and my husband. My husband was never even in the business.
So it was a setup.
It was a setup. So when they took us both to jail, again, when our children were alone, my husband, who never had anything to do with my business, he's in construction, they lied and said that he signed somebody's name to a copy machine lease we had in the office, when it was the girl, Martha, who worked for me, her friend, who signed for a copy machine because I didn't need a new one and she wanted it.
How old were your children, Angela?
The 2009, my youngest is 22, so they're 13 years old and 14 years old. My daughter was 18, and then I have older ones. But they took the house apart. They came in. My friend Rick, who's now passed away, he sat them in the van, and while they tore my house apart, my children had to watch.
And how much time did you serve?
So what happened was I was going to take it to trial because my husband took a plea for, if you knew my husband, you'd laugh. He took a plea for identity fraud and something else. I don't know what. He didn't even know what he took, just to get out to the kids. He was in there for 3 months. I was saying, I'm not going. I'm not taking a plea. I won't do it. I'm going to trial. And I had all this proof, like big amount of proof. My lawyer came, said, you don't have to go to court tomorrow because you've been indicted. It's a different court. So when they wake you up tomorrow, just tell them it's paperwork only. So that's what I did. And I was like the mother to the girls in there because they were very abusive in Suffolk County. Every other word is F. Every other word that's COs, they use the word F like as if it's every other word. I was in an elevator one day and there was a kid who was like 17, 18 there, and the girl that was with me, oh, that's my neighbor. And he says, what are you doing here? And he says something. And the CO punched him right in the face in front of us all and said, shut the F up. It's only speak when you're spoken to. I watched a girl have, Cecilia, she was having major pains for 2 days, screaming, and I'm going, help her. And they were laughing at her, and she ended up having a tubal pregnancy, and she lost her tube and then the baby. There was another girl who was in there, and she couldn't breathe. She was having an attack and could not breathe, and she's screaming, please help me, and they were laughing at her. And so they were very, very, it was sickening how abusive, and I would stand up for these girls. So, because I was the oldest one there, and I was having Bible studies with them and trying to help these girls. Because I was a troubled kid growing up. I have a heart for teenagers and stuff. So
the cards were stacked against you.
Yeah, so the next day, so when I went to wake up in the morning, they called out my name, and I said, paperwork only, like my lawyer said to. And they said, get the F up, Sutphen. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to argue. And I jumped up, started getting dressed, and I run out. I'm last online, and this woman her name was Jamie Quattrini, who was a CO. I didn't know her. She's like 5'10", big woman, in her 30s. I was 50, says, what the F's in your pocket? I said, my glasses and my pictures and my kids and Bible. Takes it out of my pocket, lets the girls out on this side. Now they say before I walked out, there was 18 girls on the other side, because there's like 2 desks and 2 sides, and the one side, she didn't realize they was still watching. She let the girls out on my side to go to court, but didn't let the other side. And they say before I walked up, the girls told me later on, there was a trainee and a guy, a male, his name was Sean Springsteen. He had he was training someone. They said to the trainee, you better effing have a stomach for this because you signed on for 25 years.
Wow.
So they knew what they were going to do. So now I walk up, they let all the girls out on this side, the other girls are watching. She was so excited, I guess, to beat me. They used her to beat people, and she takes it out of my pocket, puts it on the desk, takes my papers, and then punches me as hard as she can. And I go down on the ground. I'm 5'1", she was 5'10". So I go down on the ground, and the 2 men and her were beating the heck out of me, and I'm screaming and crying, and I'm going, what did I do? What did I do? And I'm screaming, and the girls are all crying. And she kept, and the guy opens the door, that's the sergeant, and he says, you better stop. He's laughing. You better stop. You hurry up with it. You're going to kill her. And then closes the door. And next thing you know, she says, "Move your effing hands away from your face," screaming the top of her lungs. I had my hands in my face because there's a cement floor, and I'm on the ground, and they're kicking me and punching me and hitting me. She takes me by the hair, and she takes my face 3 or 4 times on the ground. These are all fake teeth. And I broke my nose in 3 places. I was out for a minute or 2. Blood was everywhere. I lost 2 or 3 pints of blood. My neck is never going to be the same. My 5th and 6th disc beat me really bad, and then took me by my hair and dragged me up, laughing at me. If you would have effing stole $1 million from my line of credit, I would have, or signed my name to a line of credit, I would have put a bullet in your head. So they were told to do this. And then they brought me to the hospital for about an hour. They have a back door in Suffolk County. They have their own code to get into the hospital because they beat so many people that they don't want to be seen. So we go into that back door, and then they took x-rays. My nose was busted in like 3 places, still is. I can't breathe. My teeth were all busted out, and my neck was in bad shape. Blood, I was missing like 2 or 3 pints of blood. But they didn't let me stay there, and I wanted to call my husband and tell him what happened, but they wouldn't let me. And then they took me back, and they put me in solitary for 6.5 months. And they charged me with assault on an officer.
Now, didn't your husband, in those 6.5 months, was he unable to contact you?
Oh, no, he came. They had to let him in. But they wouldn't let me out for the hour I'm supposed to get and the half hour out of the cage. I was by myself. Wasn't allowed 24/7, and they'd say that POS, piece of S.
Right.
And that's what they called me. And then they would, they said that I refused to go to church, wouldn't let me go to church, refused to go out. They said that I refused. They wouldn't let me out.
Now, did your husband get an attorney to try to get you out?
Yeah, I had a beautiful attorney. Her name is Laura Salinger, best woman ever.
And that's how you got out, is with
No,
Laura?
I didn't get out. What happened was they charged me with assault on an officer, and they said either 5 years for assault on an officer or take a 1 to 3 upstate for possession of a forged instrument.
Oh, so they forced you to cop a plea,
Yeah.
in essence.
So after 6.5 months, I couldn't take it anymore, and I took the plea, and I went upstate for another. Now, the thing is, I thought I'd almost be out, right? I was already in jail for about 9 months or something. You're supposed to get 10 months on a 1 to 3, really? And I went upstate, and when I went in front of the board 2 months later, they denied me because they never took off the assault on an officer that they were supposed to. They wanted them to see it.
Oh, my gosh.
So, Angela,
So I got another year.
Angela, we only have like 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
I can sit here all day and listen to your experience. It's just, it affects me personally. You know, we just had someone here earlier, a New York City cop, and we talked about police brutality.
Yeah.
And this kind of behavior really gets under my skin. I take it
Culture of violence.
very, very personally, and I'm so glad that you had victory in what you went through, and I'm glad that you're here today to share it with us. I just have a question because we don't have that much time with you. Now that you're volunteering with Safe Harbor Mentoring Program, what is the dynamic for you? How is it for you to volunteer with the inmates? You're on the other side now, knowing what goes on behind the cement wall.
You know, Nassau County, it doesn't happen anymore. It used to years ago, but a woman took over and she stopped it. And there was a lot of rapes there, by the way. I got there was also a rape case that I got my lawyer for Suffolk County for Fody. And the case is still going on. Those are my people that I sent to her. But I have a heart for these people because, and Pastor, when he came, I knew he was real. And there aren't a lot of real pastors out there, sorry.
That's true.
But I saw his heart. And I said I knew I had to find a church because I had been going to church for 16 years. I was already a Christian. But to me, it was a light whenever they would come into the jail. You know, when I was upstate, I went to church or I went to Bible study and we had that couple of days for the, what did you do? You did the retreat. I loved that because it felt like you weren't in there anymore. They had sandwiches and real food and we were able to talk and not be behind bars. And it was just a freedom. And I looked forward to that. So I want to do that for some of these girls. And I know what they're feeling. You know, God has reasons for everything. So nobody can tell me you don't know what I'm going through, because I do. And I get along with these girls, and I know what they feel, and I know what it takes to bring them, and that's my passion, is to help these girls change their lives around. Because, you know, I was 21 when I changed my life around, when I found God, and I know how I was an abused child from the time I was 5 years old, beaten. So I know how to have no feelings, and how God is the only thing that can melt your heart.
Yes, that's absolutely true. There's no question about that.
The only one. And by the way, 18 girls were put up against the wall and told, if you want to be her witness, you're going to get what she got. I had 3 witnesses come forth anyway, and I have letters from them. And this woman who beat me, on her Facebook page, which I have a copy of, my lawyer found it. She took it off now. Jamie Quattrini, CO, never got suspended. On her Facebook page, it says, if I could punch you and get away with it, I would. And yet they still have her there. I won $100,000, but my house was in foreclosure in 2.5 years, so that went to pay my house.
Are you presently working now? I mean, aside from, of course, volunteering and doing the good work, are you able to support yourself? Are you able
My
to
husband
work?
and I do a little bit of commercial mortgages. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, so you're back in the mortgage business?
In commercial, you don't need to be licensed. They will not give me my license back. I tried for the certificate of relief 3 times. I mean, I'm a deacon. I graduated college since I've been out. I go to the jails. I'm allowed in there. They will not give me my certificate of relief.
So when you say they will not give
The state of New York.
So the state of New York. So what do you think about that, Reverend, that the state of New York is not, what is your opinion about that? What is something that you think she could do?
Well, we sent reference letters up, and she's not by herself. There are many people that are precluded from all kind of industries because it's like a scarlet letter, you know. And we're trying to work with agencies to change that, you know, to give an opportunity.
Okay.
So it's a real challenge.
Angela, I believe that you had shared with me at one point that you had turned this experience into a nonprofit organization for yourself.
That's what I'm in the middle of trying to do.
Tell me about that.
No, I just want to help, just to help women and men who have passed. I try to get jobs, and I wanted to help do that and teach them, how to make money for themselves, how to make a living, and
So sort of
do
job
things.
development and training,
Right.
manpower development or women power development.
And
as well.
I invented a thing called, it's called Elect Services, Electronic Legal Educational Clinical Transcript
That's what I want to
Services.
talk about, yes.
Because when you go to jail, you got to have a high school diploma, and if you don't, you have to go to GED, and it takes months to get if you don't have someone bringing it to me like my husband did, to get your high school diploma or proof that you graduated high school. And meantime, the state is spending, which they love to do, spending money for each person to go to high school when they don't need to.
So
I taught GED while I was in jail.
Can you just repeat the acronym
Yeah.
and then slowly say the name of the title?
Okay. Elect Services, Electronic, Legal, Educational, Clinical Transcript Services. It's transcripts so that online, and I have a patent on it, so that when somebody goes to high school, and we have all the high schools in the country, all the jails, when you want to get your transcripts, you got to go to the jail and get it. I want it there. When you go to the hospital, you have to go to the hospital and get your transcripts. I want it there. So I want a central place that you can have your transcripts and just pull up the state, pull up the city, pull up the hospital, pull up the jail. And I also want to take 20% of the profits, and I want to give it towards people who are at the I want to put it towards children of incarcerated, so that they can go to college education.
college
Women and men that are rehabilitated to have businesses if they want. We can open businesses for them.
That's awesome.
And another thing I want to say that's very important that we don't have is, after 10 years, I believe that a felony should be exempt. I think you should be able to have a 10-year period so that you don't have to go and get a certificate of relief, because if they don't give people the chance to be rehabilitated, what good is it?
Just quickly, a certificate of relief
From
for the
disabilities.
audience. Can you just let people know
What that is that in order to get your licenses back to, let's say, if you were in real estate or you're a doctor or you're anything, you need a certificate of relief from the disability of being a felon.
Okay.
And it's very, like, if they see that I sued Suffolk County, they're not giving me one. And they do give them out even to people that are in jail already, but they won't give one to me 3 times. So, but I think after 10 years, you shouldn't even need that. You should just be, if you've got a good record, you've proven yourself, you've done good things. Why do you have to be a felon for the rest of your life?
So you've been through a lot, and you have really come out.
My hat goes off to you.
Yeah, coming out with,
Thank you.
You're patenting a new system here that sounds like giving people access, which is what this is about.
Right?
Have you ever considered political office?
No, I haven't, but But I wouldn't mind because I'm not afraid of anybody.
The world's your oyster, girl.
I mean, I've been threatened. I don't care. I want everyone to know what's going on in Suffolk County, and it's still going on in Suffolk County, and nobody wants to stop it. There was an older warden there. They'd bring him in once a week, and they'd put us all against the wall before he'd come up, and they'd say, "You better act right." And then when he'd come in, they would hi, he'd go hi, and we'd all be hi. They'd be really nice to us while this guy was in there. But they run it over there in Suffolk County, and it's wrong.
Angela, I would love to invite you back just to talk about your experience behind bars and being in jail. I was in jail for 19 hours. But I have a story to tell, and I'd love to share it with you one day. And I thank you so much for coming. Every time I hear your story, it brings tears to my eyes. And I really appreciate you for all that you've done.
Thank you.
Pastor, why don't you give us some closing remarks, give us a message for anyone who can reach out to you and
Sure.
use your services?
I wanted to emphasize that one of the things that helped Angela is that she sought a support system.
Yes.
And we became her support system.
Yes.
So that she could develop, her family could develop. Because not only did Angela go to prison, her children,
Yes.
That's right.
you see, and now they're college graduates, doing well in the world. And so we're very happy that we could have been that support for her husband, and her family.
Yes.
Safe Harbor Mentoring Program is, we've been funded by the Catholic Campaign for Human Development and also the Long Island Foundation. We pride ourselves in being a grassroots organization that not only we work with aftercare, but we're an awareness. Many people that are living in communities don't know how to receive somebody back, and so they're cautious. And our volunteers get desensitized so that they can be a part of this reentry process.
Excellent. Thank you again for being with us today. I've been your co-host, Alicia Figueras-Lambert,
And I'm Bridie Bugeja.
and we are Heels of Justice.